Everybody, once again, it's Brand Man Sean on a Saturday morning, and I got to talk about SoundCloud. And it's a classic story of money, politics, you know, that good old sweet stuff that we love again and again to hear about. And SoundCloud, this is really interesting because recently I had a conversation with someone, and there was insight from someone who knew and was around the company from the very beginning, friends with the people who started the company. So there's three things that at least I want to talk about as regards to this video. One, data. If we think about data and we think about Spotify versus Apple Music versus SoundCloud, Spotify and Apple Music are closed networks, which means you have to log in to use those platforms. Spotify is not like that. I use Spotify. No, I mean SoundCloud's not like that. I use SoundCloud all the time without necessarily logging in. It's just an extra step, and I don't necessarily need it. I'm clicking somebody's link. I'm good. But what problem that creates is you don't get to capture data. They have one of the largest, they have right now out of those platforms, they have the largest unique user base, but people don't have to log in, so they can't capture. They don't capture a lot of users. If you look at their information, they'll say something like, we have, let's just say 70 million users, but we have 150 million unique users. But that difference is the people who are not logged in. They never log in, and they don't even necessarily know if it's duplicating. So what that does is they don't necessarily get to get data on those people and how people are using it. Even people who have the platform, they don't get to use data, which means two things. One, they aren't able to better the user experience. I don't know if you've used Spotify, Apple Music versus SoundCloud. The user experience is a lot better for listening to music, and we'll get to some of that why in a second. But the user experience is a lot better to listen to music in those platforms, so people like it better in terms of usability. But then also in data, if you know anything about these big companies, especially internet related, tech related, the primary way that they're evaluated is data. Why? Because data is money. People are able to turn that into money by basically tracking people's behavior. That's why I talk about behavior so much. By tracking people's behavior, how they use things, and then they're able to market. They're able to sell to people who want to market and then advertise towards them or build products, all sorts of things. So when you think about Facebook and things like that, Google, it's all because people's data. That's really where the biggest upside on their valuation is coming from. SoundCloud, since they don't have quality data, it's trash in comparison to a Spotify and other ones. Even as an artist or artist manager or marketer, you on the back end, what the information you get to work and make decisions off of is not that great. And it's because of this reason. So that's a way that they're missing out on revenue as well. And then to add on to that, all right, somebody's having a good time. To add on to that, you have to look at also how they pay artists. Spotify, Apple, the other platforms, Deezer, etc., they pay artists based on the streams. So what does that mean? You as an artist, let's just say you're Drake, because that's who this person brought up, and you're making 50% of the streams on Spotify, right? Because you're that popular. 50% of the streams for that month were all Drake. So Drake gets 50% of the streaming revenue for that month. Spotify, they don't pay off of streaming. They don't track it that way. You don't see, like if you saw my streaming service breakdown, you didn't see how much SoundCloud pays off of streaming. Why? Because they pay out of an advertising budget. They have these ads, and that money is not equivalent, put it that way. So if I'm Drake and I have 50% of the artist sales, it's not going to be the same amount of money. So when an artist gets bigger, they usually leave the platform. So not being able to retain big artists, that's a problem in itself, right? Because people always want to be where the big artists are, because that's where so much of the leverage is, which leads back to that whole Chance the Rapper trying to save SoundCloud. I'll try to touch on that at the end too. I didn't even think about that, but yeah, so they're not even able to retain big artists because they aren't able to pay them the same amount. So because they don't even, that's a whole nother thing. But now let's get into the politics. So thinking back to SoundCloud, how it started. I don't know if you guys know this. SoundCloud actually started as like an audio sharing type service, right? They just wanted to be the world's biggest library. That was audio library. That was kind of its mission near the beginning. A lot of DJs were using it. People were not using it to listen to music. Then people started to use it. It didn't even have a business model, which leads to where it is now. It's been over a decade since its existence, its inception, and it still hasn't figured that part out. Once it started to get to a certain point, people started to listen to music, and it was an innovator. This was not existent like this, especially on this level. The music industry was like, let me get some of that cash. Let's get in on this. Look, we want a piece of the pie. The CEO was like, fuck you. No. And then that started a lot of problems. But literally, that's pretty much kind of how it went, in short. So what did that lead to? The music industry was like, okay, we hate this. Why can't we figure it out? We want to get in, but okay, fine. F that person, whatever. We're just going to have to figure it out eventually. Then eventually Spotify, Apple Music, competitors come. It's cool to be like, fuck you, when you are the only one and you have that big of a monopoly on that area. But they hadn't figured things out because it never started as a business. And you have a culture of not paying. How are you going to get money from these people? Yeah, they tried to throw advertisers in, but that was nowhere near as efficient and effective as streaming. So Apple Music, Spotify, they were cutting deals with the music industry in the same way that the music industry tried to cut deals with SoundCloud. So they cut those deals, and SoundCloud, not being able to figure things out still, eventually came back and were like, hey, so all right, let's go ahead and make this deal. Music industry was like, nah, homie, we need to tax you a little bit for that attitude you had before. So they were getting taxed more than Apple Music, taxed more than Spotify, those platforms. So now it puts you even in a worse competitive position. You haven't figured your business model out, and you're paying more, and you can't retain artists. All these things are just snowballing. And that kind of leads, let's just say everybody knows a lot more of the recent things that happened with SoundCloud. But now they have a different CEO as well. And what they're hoping from this new CEO is they basically saying, hey, that old guy, that was him. So hopefully we can repair this relationship, get together and move forward. And if you think from a business standpoint, there were some people probably hoping, hey, we're not going to help them out. We're going to, let them go down further so we can come in and not help them. We could help them now and help them survive and figure things out, but let's just let them go down even further so then we can just come in and control things. That's a whole another thing, but they're trying to prevent that as much as possible. And that wasn't what this conversation was about, but that's just something I see from a business standpoint. I know those people who are hoping for that are out there. Last thing, just about Chance. I mentioned Chance the Rapper thing. This person kind of confirmed that, like I thought, because I know how the tech industry works. One of my mentors is actually a CEO, a tech CEO, and Chance didn't do nothing, man. Like that call was just all fluff. It was just media spin. Like, Chance is a brilliant person, at him and his team. Nothing happened between that, but that's also leverage for him, right? No big artists are on the platform. He is a big artist now, and he's great with making relationships and making those deals. If you also kind of look at Jay-Z, how he moves, right? He'll make a deal with the number 2 because his leverage means even more there. Chances, I guess he's probably making conversations with a platform that's in duress, because that gives him more leverage as well, because they're in a trouble position. So that's kind of the approach that's probably going on there. I can't confirm everything going on in the conversation, but it was obviously, I knew there was no way Chance could save SoundCloud in that sense, but I'm sure they're working something more interesting out in the future. Anyway, other than that, I mentioned this in a video earlier this week, but I actually cut that video off, deleted it after a few hours. And it's just the fact that I'm going to have a second YouTube channel that I'm not going to be like there. Other people will kind of run it, but it will be like I'm helping build it. That's going to be dedicated to artist submissions. It's going to be very artist submission based. A lot of people always ask, can I put music in my videos? That's still not a thing at the time. Or would I do videos on them or play their music? That's not really a thing now, but I do like know so many good artists and hear such good music. I definitely want, I want to help them get that look, but it's not all like help. If your music's not good, which I won't be the judge because I'm not going to be the person listening to the music, then it's still not necessarily going to be on a platform. This isn't like a, hey, let's save the world platform. It's just, let's try to find the dopest artists possible. And, you know, it's for the consumers, right? To be connected to dopest artists. That just is the reality. Otherwise, a page can't last. So that's going to be a thing. Y'all can go ahead and submit. I'll put a link in the description below to that page, which will give a little bit more information, but I have no idea when it's going to be up. I'm just letting y'all know it's an early idea because I want to get you guys on the ideas as much as possible, or see me at the bottom of building certain things as much as possible, and watch me out throughout my process. I'm actually going to be doing another festival. My festival is coming back because we found a space. That's not going to be until March, but I'll try to mention those things to you as much as possible as well. Yeah, don't know when that page, the YouTube page though, it's called Grand, is going to be launching. Maybe it's going to be January, but it's going to take a minute to listen to music by the time people actually start doing it. So if you get yourself earlier, it might be better. So anyway, y'all have a good Saturday. Peace.